It seems the Indiana Fever just play better when Caitlin Clark is the main ball handler. It is just evident at this point. They just came off a win against the Atlanta Dream. And what a game. What a game. The best stretches in this game, I don't know if anybody else noticed it, but the best stretches in this game were when Caitlin Clark was bringing the ball up the court. It's literally a fact. When Caitlin Clark is bringing the ball up the court and she's the main ball handler, good things happen. Good things happen. So I really am asking why Coach Sides is still having other players bring the ball up the court. It doesn't make much sense to me. Every single time you have Erica Wheeler bringing the ball up the court, things just go in the wrong direction. What a great game. What a great game for the Indiana Fever. I really like how they've played recently. They've played really well, and it's really not been so much their offensive game plan as it has been them building chemistry when they have a whole long way to go. The other thing is their individual stars are playing better. Stars. NaLyssa Smith is a very great basketball player. When NaLyssa Smith is going to that ISO and she's hitting and she's capitalizing, it's good to see. Kelsey Mitchell is just hitting shots. And earlier in the season, she just wasn't making them. I hope everybody realizes that she's shooting the same shots she was shooting earlier in the season. It's the same shot. She's just making them now. So, you know what? She did catch a lot of hate. And there's still things she does that I think need to change. But the fact that she's making shots is so good for this team because she's easy offense. Caitlin Clark is just understanding the game more now. She's just become acquainted with her teammates in a great way. She's understanding how the defenders are playing her. That little learning curve that, Diana Taurasi was talking about, she's understood that now. And she's past that part now. And now she's an all-star. Number 2 in the race. Vote Caitlin Clark if you like Caitlin Clark. Now, I'm going to go over some clips later on in this video. But first of all, Aliyah Boston was great. She was great. Another great game. I don't think she missed a shot in this game. And you know what? Aliyah Boston is becoming somebody that's very reliable for this team. And I actually think she's probably the most reliable player on the court right now. Just when it comes to scoring, at least. Like somebody you can go to on the offensive side of the basketball at every single moment. Aliyah Boston is the most reliable. When she's down in that paint, you cannot stop her at this point. She's unstoppable. Talked about it in one of my videos past. There's not many players like Aliyah Boston when it comes to touch around the rim in the WNBA that I've seen so far. I've seen Aja Wilson. I've seen a few others, and then I've seen Aliyah Boston. She is around the rim. She has amazing touch. Amazing touch. Beautiful. I talked about NaLyssa Smith earlier. I think she's been great. One of the things I'm worried about with NaLyssa Smith is that every single time she scores, it's on ISOs. The Indiana Fever play their best basketball when they're passing the ball around. Teams that play with pace usually don't have players that benefit from going ISO all the time. If you look at the Indiana Pacers, it's just pass the ball around till somebody gets a favorable look. That's where the Indiana Fever are playing their best. That makes sense, though, because they have a point guard that loves pushing the pace and getting down. NaLyssa Smith can't just get the ball every once in a while and go on ISO because you mess up the tempo of the game going ISO if you hypothetically miss. It's okay for her to go ISO because that instant offense is really great sometimes, but every time she does it, it has to be noted that they go out of their flow of the game, out of their pace. So I think that needs to be prevented on a small scale, but I'm really liking what she's doing. And I think if they figure that out and make it less like ISO ball and like kind of less like NaLyssa Smith, Captain America run, NaLyssa Smith, Batman, just like, doing it all on her own. And it's more in the flow of the game. She can be very lethal. Now, before we get into what Kelsey Mitchell has been doing that I do not like, let's talk about what she's been doing that I do like. Let's go over some film. Now, this is the Indiana Fever's first score of the game, but I want you to notice how Kelsey Mitchell cuts to the paint. And it's that Caitlin Clark-Kelsey Mitchell connection, even though Caitlin Clark is inbounding the basketball. Beautiful. I've compared Caitlin Clark and Kelsey Mitchell to Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving before, and I'll do it again here today. Kelsey Mitchell has to take on that Kyrie Irving role. You have to be fully off ball, but play off ball. It's not just like stand in the corner. It's move around. You want to be able to prevent Caitlin Clark from being double teamed if you're her teammate. Kelsey Mitchell is good enough to do that, but only if she moves around in the correct way. When she's running the lanes like this, beautiful things happen. Check out this play. Caitlin Clark gets doubled, and Kelsey Mitchell makes use of it by going up to the arc, and Caitlin Clark eventually finds her. That is what I'm looking for these two players. I'm looking for Caitlin Clark. If I get double teamed, if I'm Caitlin Clark, I'm going to be looking for Kelsey Mitchell. And if I'm Kelsey Mitchell, when Caitlin Clark gets double teamed, I'm going to come and get the ball. This is an early game situation. You're 4 minutes into the first quarter, and you're already showing, if you're Kelsey Mitchell, that if you double Caitlin Clark, I'm right here. And that changes the scheme of the game. And that allows you guys to take a big-time 20-point lead because you cannot double Caitlin Clark. So once Caitlin Clark starts hitting a few threes like she did tonight, we'll get to that. then you cannot double her because Kelsey Mitchell's also hitting threes. And that's what I mean when I say they can work. Because if you look at Kyrie and Luka, everybody said Kyrie and Luka would not work. Everybody said it. Don't forget, if you're an NBA fan, don't forget everybody said it wouldn't work, and it did work. I know a lot of Indiana Fever fans are looking at Kelsey Mitchell and like she has to go, but it can work. But then you have to get rid of the ego if you're Kelsey Mitchell, and that's the bad part that I've seen so far. And it's really not ego. I hate calling it ego because ego has a negative connotation. But then it's like she's confident in herself. I guess you could say self-confidence. It's not really wrong with it. It's just the fact that you have to acknowledge Caitlin Clark. And Kelsey Mitchell kind of has this mentality when she's on the court that she's just going to shoot the ball. And every time she gets it, it's a favorable matchup for her. And that's how you have to think when you're a scorer. But then you also have to think that I got somebody next to me who's a scorer. And there's many times where Kelsey Mitchell misses Caitlin Clark. Do you want me to show you that? I'll show you a clip. Look at this clip. Caitlin Clark is literally wide open. She's wide open and Kelsey Mitchell's not looking for her. Maybe Kelsey Mitchell did not see Caitlin Clark. She's looking directly at the rim, it seems, right? But maybe she did see Caitlin Clark and she's just betting on herself. Regardless, what you have to do is be aware that you're playing with arguably the best shooter in the WNBA already. Literally already. This woman can shoot the basketball. If the team that you're playing against ever leaves Caitlin Clark open, you need to find her. And there are too many times where Caitlin Clark is off ball and she has a good shot, a good look, and they do not find her. And Kelsey Mitchell just goes to the paint and shoots up a shot. I do not like this. I do not like it. Kelsey Mitchell could have made that layup. Sure. Usually she'll probably make that. But then a 3 is better than a 2. And it's having awareness of who's beside you. I'm not saying that was a bad shot for Mitchell. Usually she's going to make that layup or get a contact. The point is, you know who you are. The next step in building team chemistry is knowing who Caitlin is. That woman can shoot the freaking basketball. If Steph Curry's ever open, they find him. They find him. They literally always find him. I'm a Warriors fan, and I've watched every single game. And guess what? They find him when he's open. You pay if you leave Steph Curry open. You pay. You literally pay. You have to pay. It's Stephen Curry. If you leave Caitlin Clark open, you have to make sure they pay for that. They pay for that. They have to pay for that. And if you're Kelsey Mitchell, I understand you're betting on yourself. You're an amazing basketball player. You're an amazing one-on-one player if you're Kelsey Mitchell. But then Caitlin Clark is also amazing. You see what I'm saying? Like, I'm not knocking the self-confidence, but then have confidence in your teammate. And you have to respect her in a way to where if Caitlin Clark is ever left open, I'm looking for her. Nobody has to tell me. No teammate has to direct me and point over there. I just need to be conscious of her at all moments to where if she's that wide open, I'm looking for her. Now, let's talk about the turnovers. The turnovers for Caitlin Clark. I'm going to do, if you guys want it, let me know if you guys want it. I'll do another breakdown of all her turnovers in this game because she had 7 assists and 7 turnovers. So I'll do an assist and turnovers for Caitlin Clark tomorrow if you guys want that video. Here's the thing, man. It's more of the Indiana Fever aren't catching the ball. Her teammates just are not catching the ball on some of these turnovers. Now, some of them are Caitlin Clark's fault. All of them at some degree, I think, are Caitlin's fault. I think all of her passes, she could put more force and more strength into them. The issue is these passes are on the money. Let me show you a pass, for example. Look at this pass, man. I think Caitlin Clark literally had that pass on the money. I think it was literally on the money. Kelsey Mitchell just did not catch the ball. She just did not catch the ball. At the end of the day, and that was not the only one. There was a few of those. I think at least 3 of those in this game where they just are not catching the ball, man. They're not catching the ball. If the Indiana Fever catch the ball, and it's really more so not even just catching the ball, but they're looking for it. It's almost as if they're not prepared for it. But then on this play, like Kelsey Mitchell's literally running in front of Caitlin. There's no way you're not prepared for the ball. Do you not think she's going to find you're wide open? She's going to thread that needle. You have to be prepared for it. And maybe WNBA players are not used to having passes like that. So they're not like acquainted with, that type of marksmanship when it comes to passing the ball, right? But they have to get there because these are good passes. And some of them are a little bit off, but then they're still catchable. They're still catchable. Even if they're like a little bit too high or a little bit too low, my thing is you can still catch that basketball. That's my thing. And you know what? Some of these turnovers are Caitlin's fault. But here's my theology, because I said that earlier. My theology is crazy. Here's my ideology, right? Here's my idea, right? Caitlin Clark has to be allowed to make some of those passes. Because say white chocolate. Say you take white chocolate. And imagine, because I checked. I just did the research. White chocolate in his second year in the NBA, he averaged 4 turnovers. 4 turnovers in his second year. Imagine you look at white chocolate, you're giving him a bunch of hate and a bunch of hardship because he's getting turnovers as a youngin. You would never be able to see the highlight reel that we have today of white chocolate if he wasn't able to make those passes and wasn't allowed to have those turnovers. Caitlin Clark is an exceptional passer. Exceptional. You have to let her make those passes. You have to let her get turnovers at this point. I think a lot of people are hating on her for the turnovers, but it's like the turnout of it, like the profit you make off this in the future, in the passes and the highlight reel we're going to have after this woman retires, is going to be so worth her filling out the WNBA. It's going to be so worth her losing a few possessions because she's passing the ball. Nobody likes turnovers. But if you watch these games and you understand the ability Caitlin Clark has when it comes to passing the ball, you have to give her grace. You have to give her grace and let her grow. She's a rookie. People always forget she's a rookie. I get it because people, and I guess in all technicality, they overrated her because people, or at least if you said she was going to be the GOAT in her first year, right? But then she's also in her first year. And I know, like, you want to prove a point to all the people that thought she was going to be the GOAT, right? But then she's also in her first year. And she's also a rookie like everybody else. And rookies are allowed to make mistakes. Let her make mistakes so she can grow. Let her miss shots so she can grow. Like, let her grow. That's the thing, man. Just let her grow.